Hey, sports enthusiasts. Welcome back to another episode of Culture in Sports, where we believe culture is critical to long term success. We take the positive and the negative experiences from our guests with the intent to create a better sports culture for the future generations. All right, welcome to another episode here at the Culture in Sports podcast. I'm Wesley Livingston.
I'm Mike Scarmella.
And we are excited to bring you the second episode of our second season here at Culture in Sports. We have an awesome guest, family, friend, an Oceanside High School alum, ex-NFL player, on the path to owning his own business and State Farm agency, Kyle Thomas. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. How are you guys?
Doing
Good morning.
Doing good, man.
Well, not so morning. Good afternoon.
Absolutely, right afternoon for you over there. But yeah, man, we're excited to talk to you. We have a couple of things we want to start with. In general, how did you get started in sports? I know you're a football guy. Why don't you tell us a little bit of how you got involved in that?
Well, actually, I was a soccer guy first. My older brother is the reason why I got into any sports. Actually, he's 6 years older than me. Always been athletic. He played soccer first. I followed him into soccer, played traveling soccer through Oceanside. But then as we got older and he transitioned into football, we always played football in the parks. But then he went to Oceanside High, and I followed up behind him, just trying to be like my brother. They even called me Little E.T. His name is Eric Thomas. They called him E.T., and I was Little E.T., so I just followed up behind him.
What made you transfer into football?
My size.
I was gonna
say they called you little ET, but
not so much little ET.
And it's crazy because I'm way bigger than him now. So, but no, my size. I always had a big foot, but then by the time I got to, I'll say right before high school, my shoe size was too big. They didn't make cleats, soccer cleats, my size. So I was wearing size 15, 16 going into my freshman year of high school. Still kind of short, but I had to grow into my body.
Freshman year, wearing 15, 16.
That's crazy. So is your brother always the guy that would pick on you when you were younger, and then now that you're bigger than him, you kind of just
I would say
level?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he picked on me. He was the man in the house, so he more just was my mentor, my very first mentor, right? My father figure.
Yeah.
More just showing me the ropes, putting me in check when I need to be in check. My mom carried a tight whip also, so she didn't play that.
Yeah.
So nobody really picked on us. But
holding each other
every now and then he would lay the hammer down, right? But nowadays it's a little different, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, but there's still that mutual respect, right?
Yeah.
I do know he's a little nutso, so I don't really push him too much.
Well, he was 6 years older than you. So how did that how do you think that transitioned you from being just like an average athlete to going to the next level? Because you got to kind of stick with your brother and kind of stick on his.
So you're hanging out with the older kids and kids.
So hanging out with the older kids made me. I got in trouble a lot at school for playing too rough with the kids. I would get suspended actually around lunchtime because I was being too rough with the kids my age. So it made me, I guess, play with a different mindset because I wasn't scared of hitting somebody. I wasn't scared to be physical because
if I was, being hit by the biggest guys around.
Yeah,
so.
and that's one thing he would do to me also. If I got hit and I cry or something, he would give me something to cry about, right? So there was always that figure of somebody else. My size, my age, I didn't see him. I didn't see any type of fear or hesitation because I was so used to the older guys. There was a time, I remember one story where I was probably 6 or 7, and my brother wanted to go to the local high school or local school at San Rafael, right? No, she's San Rafael, right by the front gate. And we walked up there, and it was all high school kids playing football, right? And my brother, they were my brother's like, he can play. They're like, nah, he's too little. We're going to hurt him. He goes, no, he won't. No, you won't. And my brother talked me in, and I got to play with the older kids, so I've always played with the older kids and hung out with the older kids. So it just put me in a different mind.
It makes you tougher. I remember the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
My cousins were older. I got picked on and tormented all the time. You know what? I went back and played with kids my own age, and things changed.
Yeah. And there was a rule: you don't come home crying, or somebody's gonna give you something to cry about. So
absolutely,
that's just how it was in our family.
That was a model in our house too.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, give you something to cry about.
So were you always on the larger side compared to the kids your age, or?
I would say no. Actually, not until high school. I was I don't want to say a big kid because there's average size big kids and then there's these ginormous kids nowadays. So I wasn't them, right? But in reality, no. I would say I didn't really hit that growth spurt. I just had big features. My feet were really big. My hands were really big. My lips were big. Everything was big on me except for my height, right? Up until about my sophomore year of high school. I think I went into high school maybe at 5'7", 5'8", maybe.
My size back
and
then.
now, yeah. So Jovan, a couple of my friends now who are just 5'10", 5'9", nowadays, they were bigger than me at that time going into high school, way bigger than me. It just so happens that I just hit growth spurt and just got big.
Yeah.
Lucky guy.
What athletes at that time, with your bigger features, did you look at other athletes and kind of say, this is someone I could see myself, did you see yourself taking that athleticism to the next level? And
everybody always told me I was going to be tall. My dad was tall. And I was athletic, so I like Eddie George. Eddie George is my favorite running back. Yes, everything he did, man, I just knew I was going to be a big running back, running the ball, running people over, faster than people. I just knew I was going to be a running back until my freshman year of high school.
Right? Coach Carroll's like, nah.
And that's
honestly, so honestly, my freshman year of football, we had to go out there and run 40s, right, 40-yard dash, and I get out there, I'm going third. Everybody knew I was a hot shot from junior high playing football, so everybody knew I was going to play. And I was like, I'm going to be the running back. Get out there and run the 40, and my first 40 was 6 seconds.
Oh, stop.
So hey, listen, I think at my wedding, somebody's going to call me Six Flat. They call me Six Flat. Okay, so from that day on.
So
they won't race me now.
So for those of us for those of those people that don't know, I would say in high school, what do you say? An average 40-yard dash for a halfback is what, 4'9", 4'8" for a halfback?
Oh
yeah.
Well, for an average one. But Oceanside always had
4'8", 4'7".
Yeah,
Oceanside
was a really nice high school running back.
You guys were those guys are flying.
Yeah, running backs.
We did have a Reggie Bush, right? Yeah. In our area, we did have a Reggie Bush, but he was one in a million, right? So
Speaking of Reggie Bush, he needs his Heisman back. Give him his Heisman back. Stop playing with my man.
Give that man his Heisman back.
Who was the other guy that always went back and forth with him? Brandon Anthony at El Camino.
Oh yeah.
If he can hold the ball, man, he would have gone places for sure.
I played Pop Warner with Speedy for about 3 years. We were on the same team. We were on the Falcons. I went to Florida with them and everything, and he was fast out the womb.
He's next level.
The man was just fast.
I think
next level.
I think at Tri-City he had the fastest birth ever. I think he came out and
probably had to. He came out running.
Yeah. Came out running. Yeah.
Give him the ball.
Yeah, give him the ball. As long as we just got to get some stickum to him and
just gone.
Yeah, yes, sir. So, hey, who do you think your most influential person was? So you went into high school. Would you say it was your brother was your most influential person, like getting you to that first level of high school to like that more competitive stage?
It's gonna sound crazy. My brother was a huge part because he was the first male mentor, right? My dad was in the house, but my overall first mentor is my mom, right? My mom has a mindset like no other. She's strong. She's a survivor. She had to go back to school and learn how to read, so she went through a literacy program while raising the three of us, while she owned her own business inside the home, which was successful, right? So she had to go do that. And then went back to school to do what she's doing now in the medical field. So I would say my mom is just a tremendous mentor. There's no stopping her. There's no reason why you can't get it done.
Well, think about the stuff that she did in order for you to get to where you are. All the time that she spent. It's crazy when you think about parents and how they're. I mean, you think back and I know now, I didn't kind of put it all in perspective back in the day, but now you look back and wow, it's pretty incredible.
Okay, to put it in a context, context. We were just talking about time, right? And how just being a father, time is like the diapers and everything, right? My mom had 3 kids, right? By herself, went to do a literacy program. Throughout the day, she basically took care of 8 kids in the house. After that, worked till she got the last kid when it left the house around 6:30. She went and worked at Tri-City in the autoclave, whatever it's called, till about 12 o'clock at night, then come home and repeat, right, every day. Plus, she was doing the school stuff and learning how to read. Plus, We all played
We're all
sports.
trying to make your
She
game.
never missed a game.
Wow.
She never missed a
Isn't
game.
that crazy, dude? That's amazing.
I complain about time right now. I miss phone calls. I miss things like that. I'm like, this woman.
Yeah.
Like, I have no excuse, right? So that's the ultimate. I feel my mentor who just showed me, like, you can always make a way.
But you know what? That's the coolest thing right there. It's just like, no matter how much you have on the table, like if you really put your mind to it and you have something that you need and want to do, like you could do it. You could do it.
Right. You could do it. You could do it. The only thing that's stopping you is you.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest obstacle. And most people don't see that. I mean, a lot of times they're looking at this and that, but at the same time, it's just like, hey, look, work on yourself a little bit. And I think that goes a long way for, success in the future in sports and whatever you're doing.
I think it goes, I think the more you start working, the earlier you start working on yourself also, it propels you. And I feel like that also from looking at mentors before. I had a great mentor in junior college, Coach Rush. And I got to spend a lot of just individual, just one-on-one time with Coach Rush. When I first moved up to San Francisco, and I was a fish out of water. It was so different. You think the same state, California, but just so different. And I moved there also in a crazy time in my life. I think I had just gotten stabbed. I had just been in a different place where I thought I was going to quit football, right? So I get there. I spent a lot of time with Coach Rush and just talking about him developing himself and how I need to develop my anger. So I had a lot of anger, resentment at that time, and how my emotions was being my guide, what guided me in all my actions. It was just all emotions, just reacting. And he would talk to me about that. So for a long time, I've had somebody talking to me about how I could develop me, he was the first to put that inside my head about how I'm in control of my thoughts and my actions after, my feelings, because I had so many just different emotions going on at that young age.
Well, that's what's crazy. I was actually going to bring that up because I was going to say, you had probably one of the most successful coaches in high school, John Carroll, and how what kind of an influence he was in being able to get you to that next level where they can actually compartmentalize each different aspect of your game. You know what I'm saying? Like, was that like more of a building thing where it's everything all together, and then you went into individual things later on with junior college and college and kind of built it up that way?
I would say because I was around Coach Carroll for so long, because my brother went through Coach Carroll, right? Being in Oceanside, you just know who Coach Carroll is. There's that respect there. I don't want to say it's so much mentorship because you have so many interactions with teachers. You only see him after basically PE and after school, right?
The head coach is not really dealing with individual drills. And stuff.
Yeah. Coach Kulu, rest in peace, he was more of a mentor to me directly, right? But Coach Carroll did teach us something that I learned at that age, which took me on to each level or everywhere I have been, is the fact that no matter where I showed up, it doesn't matter what they've already have done and put in place. I still got to put in that work.
You got to work.
Because being at Oceanside, there's a winning mentality that
culture,
if you're a freshman, you just feel like your senior year, you're going to be at the stadium, playing in CIF, doing all those great things, right? But it's really preached that those things are earned.
Those aren't just handed.
Like, you just don't fall into a situation. You may fall into a good situation, but to be successful, that's just the setup. It's what you do with that situation, right? So
you say that
you learn that at the
and that's why I always liked Coach Carroll, because he did that. Like, if you didn't earn it, you weren't playing. You mess up in practice, you ain't playing.
No matter how good you were, no matter who you thought you were, like if you messed up, you didn't take care of your business, you didn't take care of your academics, you didn't, he wasn't playing with that, and that's something that a lot of people.
I would say at times, if we would look more towards like the academic spot, we have so many talent. If we look at more like towards the academic side of what's going on in Oceanside from sports, we have so many great athletes. I feel like we don't do enough when they do have bad grades. So I don't always think that Coach Carroll did do enough at that time, because we would have more scholarships out of Oceanside. We'd have a lot more players because there's a ton of talent. And that goes from not just Coach Carroll, and I don't want to just put that on that man because he has done so great things, but even El Camino, right? El Camino has a ton of talent, right? Fallbrook, ton of talent. And you don't see too many schools, maybe like 4 or 5 at one time, maybe get a D1 scholarship that make kind of a big deal. But for the most part, outside of that, everybody's going to Palomar,
which is
right? You're going to Palomar.
Because there was so much talent. We had so much size in Oceanside. Like, we got, some like big Samoan guys that were fast and strong. And it's just like a lot of these guys didn't get to play. And they should have been starting. and both those teams were powerhouses. You know, it's pretty crazy.
Do you feel that because of some of the players' talent levels, their academics and stuff that they did off the field would be overlooked sometimes, or kind of like swept under the rug?
Oh man,
to keep the team relevant, or to keep that hierarchy of Oceanside of what you were 11-0 when you graduated, right? Did you guys went undefeated?
Yeah, 11-0.
Yeah. So do you?
I would say they do. They don't do enough, right? After sports and everything, like there's not a lot of study halls. There's not a lot of different avenues. They're not teaching at that time. We weren't really learning about what we need to do to get into college, or what we should be preparing for, what tests we need to take, right? I went into. I had to go to junior college, right? Because I didn't know anything about clearinghousing, right? So didn't know anything about that. But I wasn't the only one, right? And very few. I think when we went 11-0, right? And I don't think we only had 3 people get a scholarship, and that's not, and 1 to a D1, 2, and we had a great team, right? So, or we had 2 to D1, Russell and Derek, and then I believe Cameron was another one that got a hold on, my family just got here. What's up, y'all? What's up, man? He played ball with me also in college. So.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
But I just think they just could do a lot more in our city, helping kids get those opportunities. Maybe they're doing that now. I really don't know. I haven't kept up with it, but at that time, we did.
The one thing that I see from Oceanside, I mean, I was always one of those guys that was like, okay, let's go have some fun. Let's go get some stuff done. So it's just like there might have been those study halls, but at that time, I didn't have like a mentor or somebody saying, hey, well, you should go do this. At that time, I was like, we're going to the beach, I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go with my friends. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. Get in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a mentality of just Oceanside in general,
Right. And that's crazy, because we do have so much talent there, but there is a lack of resources, I would say, in that aspect of really having real mentors to help these kids guide and find the things that they love to do, or have some type of passion and put energy towards.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth going on in Oceanside now, but is that just for tourism, or is that also going to be resources that goes back into the communities? Because there's a gang problem. There used to be a gang problem in Oceanside, right? And they created a task force for it in police department, but I don't remember them doing anything else for the community to really help the people.
No, I've been seeing hotels being put up in new restaurants along the beach.
That's about it, though. I feel like that's not going to go towards anybody.
That's not coming back to
that's
the
a tourism.
Right. I mean, but we live in a touristy area. Oceanside is a tourism attraction.
It'd be interesting to find out if.
But you would think it is now, but back then when we're talking about when we were going to high school, it wasn't a tourist place, right? At all gang affiliated, right? But we also had a lot of talent on the football field, right? Or a lot of talent on the basketball court.
And a lot of them that got dragged into those, to the gangs in general.
The mentorship is so crucial, especially back then, is that we lost a lot of RIP Chris Fuimano to great football players, that could have done
Justin Nono.
Justin Nono, who was doing great things at Colorado, and lose their lives way too soon over things that have been going on
over something dumb, right? So that's where I would say we were talking about my queen and I were talking about, is it enough to just put kids into sports, right? Is that the activity to put us in, right? But now as I get older, I'm going to say no, because it doesn't, I guess, take a part of the mind that takes away that. I guess it just, in some cases, it builds that aggression, right? Because with football, you build that aggression. So we need some type of distraction that builds another part of our mind.
Do you think it's the sport, or do you think it's kind of do you think it's the sport, the culture of football? Because I would say the culture in football is a lot different than the culture in basketball or baseball or tennis.
I would say, it's the culture. It's the culture, because
it's how the whole league.
The sport is a beautiful game. Yeah. I don't even watch football nowadays because of the culture of football, but I love the game.
Yeah.
Like, if just the way somebody may love chess or love these other mental games, I love football. I love the mental aspect. However, when it comes to the culture of football, when we're looking from a race level or on a economic level or on what they do
Representation
for
level, which is
representation or
gender.
how they care for the people who, after they play in the league or get to the highest level, they're just discarded after they can't produce anymore, right? All these things. So it's just
The medical
it,
problems
it,
and
it
the lack of
the medical
studies and
problem.
research that they do
I just
for.
I was watching an interview the other day, and it didn't even dawn on me until that interview. And the guy was saying that one, you have to sign when you sign your players' rights. You sign your players' rights to also sue for malpractice, right? When you become an NFL player, you sign. You can't sue the team doctor for malpractice, right?
Wow, I did not.
So in that case,
That makes sense.
the doctor is hired by the team,
Right.
so he can tell you whatever it is, right, to get you back on the field to produce and build and put some money in somebody else's
Yeah,
pockets.
torn
Meanwhile,
ACL? Nah, you're good, man. Hop out there. You'll be fine.
And that's
Nah.
and I played so hurt so many times. I played so many this. It's just
and that's part of the culture
that
in football, right? You players
yeah,
are.
You
football.
play hurt sometimes.
It's so competitive. It's
Mhm.
such a aggressive game. People are getting hurt, but they don't want to lose their spot. You
Yeah,
sit out a game, sit out a couple of plays. Somebody's
Somebody has a
behind
good
you
game.
and
Yeah, you're in
come up right
trouble.
behind you and take your spot.
yeah.
So that competitive and that eagerness to stay relevant and stay part of the team.
But on the flip coin, on the other side of the coin, right? That same mentality helps you in corporate world as far as like production wise and working in an office space and performing at a level where you don't want nobody to come take your spot.
Right.
That's ingrained in you now. You're always in thinking that somebody's behind you, gonna take your spot, gonna do this. So you always are pushing to maximize your production,
Absolutely.
right?
And it's
So
definitely that's a sports thing. And that's why, I'd say,
yeah,
if I ever create my own business, I'm going to get a bunch of guys and gals that have been on sports teams that know how to work together, that can, work together for a common purpose, which is to win
yeah.
or to do well in business or whatever it is,
But they also have to do a lot of self development. I'm learning that a lot. Like football, although it teaches you those great life lessons, man, I can also read somebody's knuckles and see if they're going to go forward or go backwards, right? But that does nothing for me in the office. I have to really go out and develop myself in certain skills, whether that's business
Right.
development, my writing skills, and all those things. Because
Communications.
when we go back to education and we're talking about an athlete, and whether it's college or even high school level, the emphasis for them to really perform at the highest level in the classroom is not really there. When we're talking about making other people money or another school money or a business or something money, your personal interests aren't really in. And why does that matter when we're talking about money over here? Do your job,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
right?
that's why I think it's so important. My bad. That's why I think it's so important. It's just like, when you're in football or when you're in baseball, how many small, little, tiny drills do you do to get better at things? So, it's the same thing when you're in business. It's like, hey, look, how many small, little things can you do to build up to create that business? Otherwise, you're going to stay in the same spot. You can't keep
Right.
making steps that are even right here. You got to build.
Progress, yeah.
And I think doing those
Yeah.
little small things and learning those things from sports is what kind of gets people, people like us, more competitive and just a better business, be more business savvy in general, actually, I think.
Yeah. And going back to the whole concept, like going back to mentors, I feel like as somebody who's been an athlete my whole life, I've always had a coach, right? So now to get out into away from sports, doing something different, I still search for somebody who is looking at my blind spots, picking apart where I'm doing things wrong. And at times, I'm not, I don't like constructive criticism. I don't think anybody does. But at the end of the day, you need
It's
it
good for you.
to be better. Yeah. So, and to really be a leader, if you're not looking for people who are pointing out things that you do wrong, you're going to be leading people down the wrong way all the time.
If you don't understand how to
it's
fix
good for you.
then you're in trouble. Like, you got to be able to take that
Right.
criticism, figure out what you did wrong, and adapt it. Otherwise,
you
first of
can't-
all, you can't get better in sports. You can't grow your business.
And if you
Same
can't
kind
do
of
it
thing.
yourself, you allocate that responsibility to somebody else. And
Yeah.
that's
But you can only really do it. This is why mentorship or help or servicing people, we're all connected, is because I can only, without any type of somebody telling me like where I'm going or criticizing my bad step or somebody going over and correcting my math equation, just checking it twice without really having that, I will always be blind.
Right.
Like, so I can't really develop or really go the direction I'm trying to go.
How are you supposed to know?
You got to have a compass some way, right? You got to have a compass, whether that's going to be helping, that's going to come from somebody else or some entity. It's going to come from help from something else. You're not going to do it truly by yourself.
Right. And one of the cool things is you'll learn that it's not just one mentor. Like throughout your life, you'll have tons. And if you do it right, you will. I mean, that was one of the things that we had in our last podcast. It was one of those things that I chose one or two, and it's just like, you should have one in every category that you want to do well in. So, if you're going to be doing investing, find somebody that does investing, like hook onto them, learn what you can, and then help somebody else.
If you know someone that's really good at talking to you about mental health, grab them, talk to them and speak to them.
And that's two parts. So you should have intentional mentors for the things that you are trying to strive to become, to do and write for work. But then you also have to have a sponge mind, right? Because everybody can be a mentor. I'm learning that just my future wife is now, someday she's teaching me, she's mentoring me at times, right? So I'm learning from her, right? So in certain situations, how I handle it, I may be immature in my thinking for that situation, but because I have somebody next to me who is very mature in that situation thinking, and if I'm open to it, now that person is mentoring me. So you need to at all times be open to anybody, right?
And that's
not saying accept every damn thing, but be open to the right information.
Because if you think about it, you got to make sure and take everything in. And actually, a lot of the times you don't really focus on small things. It's like, oh yeah, do this. And you're like, okay, whatever. And you do it, but you don't really take it to heart. And when you do, and you can actually learn from it, you actually, just like you said, stay open to it. So that's super important. I definitely agree with you on that for sure.
I have a question. Where do you think you experienced your most amount of growth? Was it like that transition from high school to college? Did you experience an insane amount of whether it's physical, emotional, or was it when you went from your college to kind of your professional field? Where do you feel like you had the most amount of change or growth as a man?
I laugh because one of my best friends, Will, was sitting right here, and he's been with me for from the day I got to West Texas A&M to whenever. So it's like, I would say, that's a great question. I think I'm continuously developing. I would say my biggest growth came in my last recent years, and I think that'll always continue for me. I hope that continues for me. Absolutely. That each year I just will be my best development, right?
And do you think that's you started just like you said, where it's like you kind of build up and kind of keep going. It makes sense to me, especially when you have your boys, your same guys that have been there growing up with you the whole time, and then you got your guys in college that you can kind of strive with, especially if they're on the same page.
I think it's everything. It's starting. It's right now. Life is starting to show me that everything I've been through leading up to now all connects, right? And I just know that things are coming into my life for a reason, and they're gonna fit in. But maybe it's not so much right now, but at some point in time, God's gonna make it appear that that I see where that fits, right? So I'm open to that. I would say the last 3 years of my life, from really committing myself to being just trying to be the best man I could possibly be for my family, my queen, who I'm trying to be, and developing myself. That's where my weight loss came from, was just saying, hey, what if I gave my all to what's happening to me right now? Not just half of me, not just using just what I would think people at one point in time would say my athletic ability. In the real game of life, it's just you can be kind of savvy, right? But that's as an athletic ability. But if you really are aware, having your awareness and seeing where you're at in life and moving accordingly with your spirit and what God wants you to do, what does that really look like? Like, I've never really seen the best Kyle. So trying to focus on that. I've seen the best development from business, from I read more, how I communicate. A lot of things have changed for me. Just trying to focus on that.
The awareness already started to grow, just knowing that you needed to change, or things needed to change, or
I would highlight a guy who I just got in touch with, not in touch with, but started reading and listening to his books that her mom gave to me. His name is Eckhart Tolle, right? Eckhart Tolle talks about the now, right, and being in present, right? And he once said that people nowadays aren't thinking. We're thinkers. We're just constantly thinking. It's almost like we're saturated with just our thoughts and just thinking. But that means we're not in now. We're thinking about the future and the things, so we're constantly reacting. And once he said that, it totally like hit me. I'm constantly reacting. My mind is constantly thinking. When do I shut it off? Right. So trying to focus on shutting it off and really being present. So I'm responding to people now and trying not to react and develop that. And the more I'm starting to be aware when I'm even in those trends and not being in the now, I can see a change in my life. It's changing and it's just been a short period of time. So truly a power, just trying to be planted, be in the now, and be aware of that.
Absolutely. That's something that one of my mentors brings up to me, Wade Blair with the Wade Blair Group and Keller Williams. He talks a lot about just making sure you have a schedule. So for me, my biggest problem is my schedule. So if I have a schedule, if I have things written down, I can stay in the now and I can make sure I'm getting things done. There's a difference between being busy and being productive. You know, people get
right.
I was busy today. I couldn't get this done. But with a thing that I do with Wade is take your whole day, right? And write down the things that you do, whether it's when you say you're busy, write down your busy work, or if you're actually working, write that down. And you can actually see how many bathroom breaks you take, or how long you're on your phone. You can actually see you weren't really busy. You weren't. I mean, you weren't busy, and you weren't being productive. You know what I'm saying? You could do those things, and I think that was a huge thing for me, is being able to stay in the now and realize and understand what actually is going on. You know, not just.
I had a client talk about that right there, about like writing things down and seeing how much time we waste. You know, and he said that. Damn. Let's what he say. I have to come back to that. Now it's on the tip of my tongue. I'll come back to it. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, absolutely. But
I had a one of the best things I've ever got is, hey, look, do your hardest thing first. So like for, I'm in sales as well. So it's like, hey, what's the hardest thing? The hardest thing for a lot of sales guys, cold calls.
Yeah.
Cold calls suck. You got to do it though. Get it done early, get it done often. Get it done early, and then
you make it fun.
You go
try to make it fun.
Yeah, that lead gen is where it's all about. That's really
so cool. Going back to what you just sparked it for me, right? So we call things busy, and when we're saying that it's busy, it's us. Our mind is trying to go to the things that it loves to do, where it's comfortable, where we don't really have to do a lot of thought, right? So when we're doing something, we say out loud, I'm busy, which tricks you into having a negative response, which makes you want to do this less, right? And go convert right back to doing what you used to do.
100%.
Once you say it, like, damn,
your productivity
so
level just goes all the way up.
Let's go back to what's comfortable. You're not going to get any clients. You're not going to. You just your comfort zone. You got to get out. And honestly, I feel like most success, any success, you have to step out of your comfort zone, and it's terrible. Right. It sucks, but you do it.
And you have to mind. It's a mindset, right? Because your mind is constantly trying to get back to what it wants, but you have to set a standard, set it where it's going to be, and not revert. But that's going to be a constant fight, because your mind is so tricky. Your mind is going to try to trick you back to in that comfortable place.
Easiest way possible is what it wants to do. And you got to get out of that.
And over here is so much better for you. Yeah. So much over here is better for you. So.
Well, I mean, and it's like, you think about it. I mean, it's exciting. You go out and, it's also terrifying. But, hey, look, the things that can happen from getting out of your comfort zone, I mean, it'll change your life in a lot of different ways.
Making that cold call. Change your life, right? Man. It's a mindset.
I'm telling you, that right there is, as far as in real estate, that is probably one of my biggest fears, and I'm still dealing with today.
Cold call?
Yeah, man.
Worst thing they can say to you is no.
Exactly. And
then the cool, for me now, I've done it for so long, I've gotten to a point where it's like, which way can they tell me no? Is it fuck no? Is it kill yourself no? Is it like, what is it? Let's gonna be artful today. Like,
and how can we turn that no into something else here? Like,
exactly. How can I?
Help.
Yeah. And then it's really cool when you can take a no and then have somebody be so solid in their no and you switch their mind.
Yeah.
Because once somebody's stuck in their mindset,
that's all.
Can't really hard change it. But to know through a sale and saying the right things to get them out of their own way. You've done that, so that's always a good thing.
Once they realize you're there to offer them a service, you're there to help them.
Right.
At the end of the day,
right.
I learned that in the hospitality business, serving tables for 10 plus years. I'm here to get.
That's why you're gonna be great at
what you need. I got you. I'm gonna do the best of my ability to make it get it. So.
And that's why you're gonna be great at real estate.
Thank you, brother.
Because you serve. I've seen you at a restaurant and it was packed, and the lady was struggling doing her own damn job, and most people would be like, "Come on, do you? Gosh, she ain't give me no ketchup, no nothing." This guy gets up and starts busting tables at a spot he ain't never been before. He just gets up and starts busting tables. Because and that's the service mentality. That's the thing. That's your true heart. So when you serve it like that, you're gonna be a better leader.
Absolutely. So, well, any time that we've ever, I mean, back when Wesley was working in the restaurant, same kind of thing. It's just like, everybody wanted to have Wesley as a server. Like, you'd have people at the front, they'd be like, "Hey, look, we want Wesley to be our server tonight." And it's just like, "Oh, sorry, Wesley's busy." Wesley's not even a server yet.
Buster at the time.
Buster at the time, they're asking him to serve. Yeah. No.
But, that moves you up. Now they got to get him up to be a server.
Right. And
first it was with the hamburgers.
Hey, that's those steps we were talking about. You bring those steps up. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's all because of a service heart, right? So once you have that, it's going to take you places. And then when you serve people, more people want you around. And that gives you opportunity in this world to network and talk to and get in certain doors that most people can't get in. Because why? Because they have a taking heart, right? But the server heart's going to get you inside certain doors and put you in places to actually build the world and be successful.
And I feel like the most successful people come from the people, you serve and then you pass that on to the next person. So, you're serving this person and you're like, "Hey, look, this is how you do it. This is how you show somebody how to do this." And then all of a sudden, you have a group of people, later on that are all good connections and at the same time, you're helping people and as long as you're giving the right information.
Have you ever read the book, The Go-Giver?
I have not.
It's going to change your life. Please read that book. The Go-Giver. It's a little red book. It's probably like 130 something pages, but it will change your life.
All right.
My guy Pendor. I actually am blessed to have. There's a main character in there, Pendor, right? He's the older man, right? And his whole thing is just help, and to experience a true human being who is. All he is about is helping and giving things away and putting people in positions to be great, and actually see somebody like that. It inspires me to want to be like that, right? So Mr. Gordon, my true mentor nowadays, man, that's all he does. Is just give. Like, he don't ask for anything back in return. And it's amazing to see how the world just responds to him.
And honestly, I think as a mentor, you learn just as much as when you're being mentored. Because you're learning how people, handle different things, and then you could transfer that on to the next person. Like, "Hey, look, I know how this person handled this situation. I've seen both ways. So this is the best way that's going to help you to boost yourself to where you want to go in the future."
And you can tell your mentor understands the whole ripple effect of how a good mentorship could lead to another great leader, which can lead to another great mentorship opportunity to keep the standards of, the same, to keep the standards on the right side. I think
that says something to the mentor, is the fact that they have to continue learning because each person is going to hear them differently. Right. And to be able to say you've spoken to so many different people and mentored so many different people means that you've changed up your way of speaking to each person to really hear you.
Right.
So that's a constant learn, right? That's a constant, for some people, a constant frustration. Right. Why don't you understand me? Right. The last person did. Why don't you understand me? Right. But you can't go in it like that.
Which also, like we were talking about earlier, it just shows you different ways to teach it. And when you do that, it solidifies it in you. And you're like, "Oh, look," then you know it in and out and all around. So there's no question you can't answer to anybody that you're talking to about that because you've already talked to so many people about
it. Yeah. And that, I think that's the game is trying to develop to be able to, I want to mentor people, but eventually, I don't know. Well, not eventually. The people that I'll mentor someday, I don't know who will come, right? So therefore, I don't know what it's going to take to truly say I'm going to mentor that person. I don't know what. I just can say at that point, I will be committed to truly someday being a mentor for somebody and learning how and what they need. That's what a true mentor does at first, is have to learn to see what that person needs, how does that person operate, and how can I truly put them in the best position, right? How do you be a true great coach?
Yeah.
Like you can have so many coaches in the world, but if a coach is putting you at quarterback and you ain't never thrown a ball before, what are you doing?
Yeah, not everybody's reading from the same book is the thing,
Exactly. So you gotta see what you got out there, see how that person moves, and be committed in developing that person to be the best that they can be.
And that's cool.
And that's one reason why. That's why I've actually stayed out of like coaching right now. I'm not in a position right now to. You got to commit like that to somebody else. Commit like that to a team. You can't just half-ass that.
Dude, coaching a team is
definitely at young ages.
Nonstop.
Because definitely at young age.
Yeah, this stays with you for kids. People coming in and out of their lives saying they're going to do this and that for them, promising help and tutelage and all this stuff, and then the next year they're on to their next coaching gig or they're on to their next life goal or whatever it may be. But
the heart wasn't really in the sport, so they only coached for half a season and then they went on to do something else.
You have that big old hoorah speech at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna be here for you guys. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna go this far. We're gonna, and the next year he's got a better job because he's getting paid a little bit more. That's the people that sticks with people for sure.
But that's the difference between those people who are great, right?
Yeah.
What I'm learning is the people that are great, it's not that they are any type of magical thing. It's that they just show up every damn day.
Consistent.
And they're going to be consistent. And they're going to put things in place to be even more consistent. And then they're going to show people what they did and they can teach you. And that's why they're great.
By leading by example.
That's it. They showed up every damn day.
Hey, that's a
right.
And you see as a kid, like you see somebody show up every day, and there's days now it's just like, damn, I just don't want to get up. I don't want to do that. I don't.
Hell yeah.
Even when you look at them, they don't want to be there.
Right.
They don't want to be there, and you're like, here, so I'm gonna rock with you. We're gonna figure this out.
Just watching that, and watching good habits, I feel like is super important.
So important. So important.
Creating them is hard.
It's watching good habits, hearing good conversations. I think our generation didn't hear a lot of money conversations. I think that'll be different for the new kids growing up because we are all talking about finances nowadays. We are all talking about trying to make moves or how to put things in place to not work for somebody else. We're all trying to be entrepreneurs in some sort so that our kids don't have to be in these big boxes working for somebody else, right?
Yeah.
This is a different world. It's just a different mindset of people, and which will lead into the younger generation.
Which is so sad because we should have heard about this from the beginning. Like my kid would definitely hear about this from the beginning because if I would have known what I knew now at 17 or 18 years old, or even different, it would have been things are different.
Imagine if we would have how long did we hear that credit is bad? Like don't have credit growing up. Like credit cards are bad. Credit is bad. Like and now we're at the age where I was at a point where I was trying to purchase a car or look for homes.
Yeah. No credit. Sorry.
No credit history is bad. It's bad credit. You know what I'm saying? It's so now learning about that it was definitely a detriment.
I have a client who she came to America when she was like 14, 2 years after World War II. She's from Berlin, so she lived through all of that, right? Wow. Now she's super wealthy, super, super wealthy. And she says she's never owned a debit card. She's only had a credit card.
Yep.
Super wealthy. She's super wealthy.
Money, right?
Right. That, and when you do pay it back, this world's built off of credit. Your checking account, she was saying to me, was like, when your checking account, you put your money in your checking account, it doesn't build your credit.
Right.
Right. So in that aspect, why are we using that? We're using our own capital to give it away. And that's truly giving it away. If it doesn't do anything for us, no return, every dollar we spend is an investment, whether that's at the grocery store, whether that's in a home, or whether that's on anything, that's an investment, right? To give it away with no return, that's even putting in a checking. And they say they're giving us a return at these banks. It's only 0.01%. So,
and by the time inflation hits it, you're down 7% or even more. Crazy.
Yeah. And you're going to be taxed on it.
Yeah,
capital gain. You're going to be taxed.
But they don't tax you. They don't tax credit. They don't tax it because it's not your money. So
right.
So it's not like they're going to pull it out and tax you on that.
And meanwhile, I'm using somebody else's money, and my money is over here in some type of investment grown.
And it's and when you're using credit, it's insured.
There you go.
That's insured. You're okay. So, I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest things. Like, I mean, I'm glad that you brought this up. One of the biggest things I think that my folks did for me is my dad bought a credit card for me when I was like 16 years old, and he used the credit card himself. So he would use that credit card. By the time I was 18 years old, I could, buy a car and do all that kind of stuff because I had credit built up.
You just had like
right.
pay gas or
and that
pay
was
groceries.
the smartest thing you ever did. And I was like, why would we do that? I didn't get it at the time.
Yeah.
But now that I get it, I'm like, holy crap! Like I understand why you did it, and that's something that I'm definitely going to pass down. And it's those small things that you could pass down to other people, which will totally change their lives. I mean, it's different,
That's how I feel about when it comes to like life insurance or teaching people about, hey, you could protect your income. How most people think they got to insure their car, but what about insuring your paycheck?
Right.
Nobody ever talks about that, right? Or what about, we are setting our kids up for, even with credit in your situation, right? What if you could have put something away where your child had his own bank? Right. So instead of going to Visa and pulling credit from there, what if they pulled from their life insurance, used it and paid themselves back and not paid Visa back, right? Like, what if we set it up completely different and none of this stuff is taught to us?
That's your field, because I don't know. We'll have to have another conversation about that. Because
I thought you started speaking a different language. I didn't know you were bilingual. I was like, what did you say?
So there's so many cool things that I'm learning nowadays that I know my mama didn't know, right? I'm teaching her things nowadays. I know growing up, this wasn't even like, I walked into the first time I walked into an insurance office was going into State Farm, because growing up in Oceanside, I got my car insurance from Food for Less, right? I went to Food for Less, the little guy at the kiosk.
Yeah.
Right? Go to him, set me up, $15, give it to him.
Wesley didn't have insurance.
Miss my payment for a few months, go back to $15.
I was running dirty for a while until his dad was like, but a license or something.
So it's just a different game. And then you start seeing who is playing this game. And when these clients do come in with their 5-year-olds and they are buying life insurance and 529s for their kids for school and all these different things, you're like, wait, what is that?
Yeah.
Why are they doing that?
Right.
And here's the thing, the initial investment they pay into it, most people I talk to about the initial investment say it's too much, right? But the same people who are making those investments live great. And the people who seem to tell me that they can't make those investments, right? We seem to be on the same cycle that I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned being in this industry, just seeing it, right? So it's like there's a lot to teach people. There's a lot that I'm learning and applying to my life now that I can see, there's going to be fruit at the end of all this that I never would have ever seen before, right? So it's just
one of the hardest things is knowing that you're talking to an honest salesman. Because in sales, I'm in sales. I understand it. But it's just like, when somebody's really trying to teach you something and you're just like, they just want this for the commission. It's just like, no, dude, like this will really help you. Like you don't understand. Yeah. And when you get a person like you where it's just like, look, I'm looking out for your well-being. I actually care for you. And I don't want to just throw you down some random cliff. And that's something that's interesting. And it's hard to build that trust with the clients, I feel like. And like
it is, but what I have gone to learn is that, and I don't want to sound sick by what I'm saying this, but I once heard a pastor say, God puts us through like trials in life because if we didn't go, we wouldn't grow as much, right? We wouldn't try as hard, right? And a lot of what I'm learning now is that everybody will tell me no until they need it, right? Until their insurance is gone, until they're about to get arrested, until they need to get insurance because they're buying a car, right? They need life insurance because they need to pay for a funeral and all these different things, right? You got GoFundMe's, right? So most people don't really want to have a listening ear until they need it,
right?
Absolutely. And it's sad that that's what it is, but then I just got to make sure that I'm in place to know that when I have your ear is when I have your ear, right? I got to teach you at all times. You may not listen to me now, but I'm always going to put myself out there to be in front of you because one day something's going to change in your lifetime and you're going to need to know this information.
Right.
Whether it's too late or not, right? It's going to be real shitty that I've been trying for all this time to tell you, but you're going to need to know it at some point in time when it comes up too late. But like Mr. Gordon always asks people, if what you thought to be true right now turned out to not be true, when would you want to know it?
Right.
And I'm constantly trying to ask that question and get somebody's ear, right? So, but eventually it's just continues to put myself in front of people. Eventually there will be a life situation that change. And because of what I do, and because I am honest and I do like to teach, hopefully I'm in the right times that I'm teaching you right in the nick of time.
Right.
right?
No, I totally agree, and that was actually that was a good way to put it for sure.
Because the guy we have all lived a life where, man, I probably wouldn't have done that until this came up, or man, because I fell into this situation, I had to do this, but dang, look at me now, right?
Yeah.
But
I have a lot of
there's
things I should have
beauty in
done a
that.
long time ago, you know? It's just like, and you think about it, and that's why I'm bringing it up now, because it's just like, okay, well, you know, you think about it now, and it's just like, okay, I get it. So in order to change things, I mean, don't wait. Do it now.
Don't wait. Do it. And it's always, it's funny because even like just take it down to like a lower level, not to be so like thinking out always towards like your job or just when you're trying to make money, but just in your everyday life, when I was trying to do the right thing, and I know it's the right thing for me or the right thing for my family, man, that's when my mind, going back to our mind, tries to trick me and pull me away from doing the right thing too, right? So there's a lot of things that I experience when it's time for me to do the right thing that also going back to sales and calling somebody, they got to do the same thing, right? So I have to, I got to play the game with them because I know at some point in time I'm putting that off too. So I'm putting things off because just human nature, right?
Yeah.
But if we fight that human nature, that's what makes the people great.
That's
the people who run after the things
because you could stay
that
here.
Everybody doesn't want to do.
You could stay here, but I mean, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, go to that next level, see what happens. You never know what's going to happen, and it's crazy because I feel like anybody could look back on their life and say, "Wow, I just did this, and this whole thing changed for me." I feel like everybody has one of those moments, but then you got to take advantage of them when you see them, and it's hard to do because it takes a little bit.
It's like
takes,
the whole.
It takes some to do that.
It's like the whole people who work the hardest get the luckiest kind of thing. You know, it makes sense. Like I don't really believe in luck. I believe in people put themselves to get blessed with certain things. So I think people's work.
It's not the people who. It's the guy. It's the guy who comes in after the guy who works the hardest. And the guy quit. And the guy who works the hardest quits.
And then the next guy.
And the guy who follows right in after him is like, you should have kept going, buddy.
And you know the problem is that one guy that got that one sale or whatever that was, that's how he's going to continue to work. He's going to grab those single things because that's what he does. He's not going to escalate or get any better. But that guy, if he learns how to stay on track and to continue through and follow through with everything, that's the guy that's going to be successful.
Yeah. And then the guy who just, when you say learning to be successful, he's gonna get double the reward. It's like the guy who's in the mountain cutting for diamonds, and then he quits, and somebody comes around and gets all the diamonds, right? But if he would have kept going, he gets the reward of all the diamonds plus like the reward of knowing that I didn't stop.
I did that.
I did that.
I can do that.
That's empowering for every man. I feel like to do something in this world to where we look at it and be like, damn, I did that. Right. I didn't quit. I wanted to quit so many times. It's so hard, but I did that.
Even for a small thing like something that you were saying earlier that I'm starting to do more is read more. Just finishing a book, man, it feels good. It's like, hey, I finished that. I feel good. Like I learned some stuff. Like it's a weird feeling. Like you accomplished something, you know. So it's like those small things. And I'm right on the same page with you on that because I just recently started reading a little bit more. And it's
what the books that you have finished, your first book, how big was it?
Oh man, it was small. It was probably like 95, 100 pages, dude. And that was the thing that made me feel good and made me go to the next one. It's just like, dude, I finished this so easily. Like it was nice. Like the hardest thing for me was getting away from doing other things and sitting down
and finding that time.
Yeah. It's just like, it was nice because I sat down and it was just like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Like, you're putting in time, not only that, but you're bettering yourself because you're learning things. It's an interesting thing. And I never read books.
I've learned when I'm in my times that I've gone through patches where I'm constantly want to read my book. Definitely the book I started with, Think and Grow Rich for the Black Mind. I started with that book, and it was my first book. I really can say that as an adult, I read that book, right? I sat down, and I had to steal time, right? I had to wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Make time for it.
To make time for it. It was like my meditation time, right? So, and it's so rewarding when you finish the book, and then you start learning. It helped me focus. It helped me start. It probably dropped seeds in my head that are like growing so much now, right? Because just how it helped different perceptions, looking at different things, looking at the picture differently. So,
and to change your routine.
In such a different way.
Change your routine. To be like, hey, look, I'm spending this time to read this book, and you're literally putting in effort to do that. It's just like, it's like it's an extra thing. And if you could do that for a book, you could do that for anything else in your life.
And I thought man, if I could sit down and like listen to like famous old people or things like them give speeches or just the way they thought and just why did they do certain things that way, I could do that all day, right?
Yeah.
Reading a book, you get to, and it sounds so crazy, like they taught us this all our life, right? The information in the book, but you get to see these beautiful minds from any time period if you read the right book.
Right.
I was listening to Mike Tyson, of all people, is a big time historian, right? And he was talking about all these books that he's read, and you're just thinking about, damn, there's so much knowledge out there. There's so much to
you're never done
unwrap.
You're never done finding out things. You're never done
No.
bettering yourself, so I think.
But so many people walking around don't want to learn anything new, don't want to be anything different, don't want to be and they're in their lane and they feel that that's enough.
They got their shutters on. Yeah. But I think that was a perfect segue into the end. I think we took enough of your time today. I think the whole finishing, the finishing aspect.
Hey, that hour went by fast.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. Man. Only reason I'm saying this because my battery thing popped up, so I'm low battery. So I don't want to be going and like we don't have time to record to like finish the recording.
I see the battery. I'm like, all right, well.
I was like, oh snap.
But the conversation keeps going.
Oceanside, y'all owe me a beer.
Nah,
let's do it again.
I want to do one in person.
This is number 2 that we got with you. We need to do 3, 4, 5. Talk about something different every time. So I appreciate you, brother.